I am finishing up a bowl of delicious fresh gazpacho, super easy, super quick, and straight from the garden. So I'm gonna take all the contents, put them into a blender, blend them together and make this, and you're gonna come along for each step so you can mimic this recipe exactly and enjoy summer just as much as I do. At its core, gazpacho, or fresh tomato soup, is very simple and takes very easy ingredients. But what is the key? To have fresh tomatoes, because when tomatoes are fresh, when they are ripe, when they are in season, even bonus points for a garden-raised tomato, they're gonna have the most flavor. And by that I mean, a tomato you buy in the middle of winter is not gonna taste like a tomato that is vine ripened in the middle of summer. And that's what we wanna work with here. So if you cannot get locally grown fresh tomatoes that are gonna have optimal flavor, I would really say if you really wanna make this, I would use canned tomatoes, which I know sounds awful, but really canned tomatoes use vine ripened tomatoes, cans them at peak freshness for peak flavor. So if you want to mimic it the best you can, that's what you would do. Don't use a middle of winter tomato. Instead use locally grown. Use fresh tomatoes from a farmer's market or your backyard. So what I'm doing is using a plum tomato. I think they're gonna have the most flavor. I think they have a meatiness that's really nice. And they just have a really good kind of full tomato essence that you want. So to start, I am just coring it, meaning I am taking out that core. And I'm just taking a little paring knife to do it. Nothing too intense here. And you can see then it just pops out. Now I'm leaving skins on because we're gonna blend all of this. And I'm gonna cut them into quarters. Now these had a little bit more of a white center than I like. So when it is like this, what I will do is run a sharp knife. I keep the seeds and that juice inside because that has flavor, but I too take out that white pith because I think that can muddle the flavor. And this all depends what type you're growing. It depends, kind of on the year too. My tomatoes, while I grow the same variety year to year, I will really notice that they can change year to year on how they grow. So what we're gonna do with all these tomatoes, put them right into a canister of a blender. Now you could use a food processor. A high-powered blender is going to break down things a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, but it really can work with whatever you want. So if you're like me and I grow lots of heirloom tomatoes too, which I think can have an amazing flavor, use them. It's gonna change the color. So if that grosses you out, don't do it. But if you don't mind that, I think that's great. So what I'm using now is a hothouse cucumber, also known as an English cucumber. They're smooth. They don't have the bumps that quite a traditional garden cucumber does. If you want to use a garden cucumber or you don't grow this variety, which also has, by the way, less seeds, which you're gonna see inside. So see how it doesn't have quite as much of that seedy pith inside. I would then just make sure you maybe wanna peel what you're using. These have a very thin skin, and so I don't worry too much about using that whole skin and inside. If you're using, some type of pickling cucumber that you grow at home, I would probably think about skinning it or peeling it, because I think it could have a better flavor and texture. We're gonna use a red pepper or a sweet pepper, and that's only because here you could use a hot pepper, but I think what's the point is to have something that gives you that pepper flavor without too much heat. And that's more just to control the heat, and I'll show you how we're gonna do that. And you can see how I like to cut them. I cut them open, I cut the top off for the cap and the bottom, but then I'm gonna throw it all in. It just, to me, is easier to clean out that seedy pith inside. Now I am just roughly chopping and chunking things up because again, they're going in a blender. They're going to get cut up. They're gonna get chopped up, pureed, but this is just giving them a head start, and I think that's what's kind of essential here. So I'm picking them up, and you can see the blender's getting full, but now we're really moving on to less bulky items. So look at this goodness that's going in here. Now I'm going to put in some more flavor, which is shallots for me. Onion can be a little bit too astringent, a little bit too strong. I have homegrown shallots, but if you don't know what a shallot is, it's a very sometimes small, like this size. It can even be up to, 3-4 inches sometimes. So you're gonna have to adjust for what shallots you find, but you can see they're almost like a light purple onion, but then they have that very nice light onion flavor that to me, especially since I grow them, I use them in everything. Not only vinaigrettes, but I roast them, I grill them. I think they have so much flavor. Same with garlic. Obviously, I grow my own garlic. But the thing is with garlic, it can be super flavorful when you grow it at home and easy too in the garden, which is what I love. To take off the peel, by the way, super simple. Instead of trying to peel it, I just always smash it. Put the side of my knife, give it a good whack, and then that just makes that peel come right off, which is what I like. Now, for the garlic, obviously, it can sometimes be strong when it's fresh, but in this case, we're gonna have all these different things that balance it out. So for this, we do need some herbs. I'm gonna use flat leaf Italian parsley. I'm gonna take off as much of the stem as I can. It's not perfect, but just to get a lot of those good leaves in there is what's essential here. So what I have is parsley and cilantro. Now, If you don't like cilantro, which I know a lot of people don't, that's fine, leave it out. You're gonna put the parsley in. So if cilantro tastes like soap to you, which I know for some people it does, that's sad because cilantro is so delicious. Leave it out, that's fine. And you can even play with other herbs if you want to. Basil you can put in, it can overpower, so you wanna be careful, but different things you can play with. So we have a little bit of sherry vinegar. So what sherry vinegar does is it has a beautiful flavor, but it has this ability with the acidity to balance out those tomatoes, which is really essential. A little bit of tomato paste. Sounds odd, but what this is doing is ensuring a sweetness and a rich tomato flavor. So even if you feel like your tomatoes maybe aren't as flavorful, this is gonna pull it out of them. We're gonna add a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. That's gonna really add that richness, that depth of flavor that we love. A little bit of hot sauce. Now you can see I'm putting in a little bit more hot sauce. I like it hot. I think that really kind of adds a little bit of zing that I really like. We're gonna add, of course, some black pepper. I think that is essential. We also need some olive oil. So this again is a richness. Now think what's going in here. This isn't a traditional soup. We really wanna make sure that we have a nice mouth feel and palate. You need a good richness. That's gonna come in the form of olive oil, which we will also dress it with at the end. And then a good dose of salt. Tomatoes need salt for flavor. They need it to bring everything out, so we're gonna put it right on top. Now, while it looks like this is full, remember, tomatoes have a lot of water content, so they will blend up very easily. The key when you have a high-powered blender is to not over-blend. Like with this one, if you blend it too long, you can actually make hot soup from cold ingredients, meaning it gets too strong, too hot, and you really don't want to heat this up because the freshness and the flavor is coming from it staying fresh. So I'm going to start it on low, turn it up until it's pretty much a nice kind of texture, but smooth. That's it. That's how simple it really is. Now you can see I like the color, but it can change drastically with what tomatoes you use or other ingredients. But what's nice is, do you see how it has texture? It's gonna be a little messy to splatter, and so I'm gonna try to do this to keep everything somewhat clean. It has texture, but it also has a nice smoothness to it, and I think that's essential. Now, you can eat it at this point if you want to. Like, you can taste it here. I have a clean spoon, so I'll just taste a little bit. I love that. But this is gonna get better if we let it sit and chill. Not only is it better chilled, but I think sitting, letting everything marinate together is gonna get even better. And I'll show you very quickly how I just finish it off in the bowl or cup. So after it's in the fridge, you can see it really doesn't look that different. It could separate, don't be scared of that. Just stir it all together and it will come back together. That's very normal for it to do that. But it has that beautiful fresh smell. This is a recipe to make when you don't wanna heat up the kitchen this summer, because you don't have to. This you just pour all together. It's a great lunch. It's a great thing to serve when people are coming over, especially if you have a CSA box or garden produce you're going to use, because it really gives you the essence of being able to use the whole item with so much immense flavor, which is what I really like. So I like to serve it. You can serve it sometimes in little cups if you want to. Great, especially for an appetizer if you want to do that. But a drizzle of olive oil on top, I think just kind of finishes it off nicely. And then also a little bit of flaky sea salt. I think that goes a long way on this, just because it adds that hit at the end, just like you would finish anything. Or sometimes when you go to a restaurant, you get a little hit of that nice flaky salt on top. I think it can do a lot. If you want to make it look nice, you can add parsley leaf or something. It's really whatever you want. But at this point, you just enjoy. And this is honestly my favorite lunch in the summer. That is so good. It's so good because it has all the flavors of what we put into it. You get that fresh tomato. You get that mixture of herbs that's just right. It's balanced with the acidity, has a sweetness from the freshness, and it really does come together to be just a really great summer treat. And I think this is one that you're gonna come back to time and again. One, because it's so easy, but two, it's delicious. So that's what I hope you do with this recipe. I hope you share it around so other people can know the goodness and joy of making something so fresh and so simple in the summer, using the peak ingredients that really are only this fresh during this time of year. Check my website, wyseguy.com, for this recipe and all my others. And until then, just enjoy summer. It's fleeting and you want to enjoy it like this.